Hello everyone, and welcome to a bit of a quicker guide, this time just looking at the new pathing system in the Contention servers as of patch 2.0. This is a great new tool that opens up a lot of options and makes it much easier to make a more dynamic battlefield and actually get your units attacking things. So let's jump in and see how it all works. Right, so let's say, for example, that the enemy were attacking our base down here in Bandar Ijask, which they actively are right now because missiles are going out from there. And so I wanted to reinforce that base, but the enemy cap near the area was really preventing me flying helicopters straight to that. I'll just get smacked out the sky. So what I can do instead is just go from a nearby FARP and drop them off somewhere safe. Let's say along this road here, just like I've done, drop down a bunch of little containers here. So I can do just like normal, I can unpack these. So unpack cargo. And the really nice feature of the TDS system that we're going to use just now is the group system. So let's unpack nearby group. Do it using resources. There we go. This took me 2 trips to put down very quick, so I'm just outside the FARP. I've deployed 2 anti-air guns, a BMP, and an ammo truck for the entire lot. Now, the old CTLD system, what I would need to do is either get a TACCOM to power these units, or myself flip over onto a TACCOM, which, means that I can't be doing my thing. I'd need to stop being a helicopter for a while. Now, though, we can do all of that directly from the F10 map. You can see here I'm still in the aircraft. I'm still right here. I could be flying, I could be landed, doesn't matter. What I need to do is select the group and get the name of the group here. As you can see, this group is TDS for Troop Deployment System, number 9 is just the tracker, and then it has my pilot name. Now what I can do is get this group to start actually going to where they need to go. To do that, it's very simple. I just decide where I want them. So I want them on this road here. I drop down a marker. I then, in the marker name before selecting it, type /path space, and then I put the name of the unit, which I've still got selected, so I can see that down in the lower left there. Say TDS, number 9, then my name. And all I do is click off, not closing, just click off. There we go. Immediately it has set a path for our lovely units here. And what we can see, even though the direct course would have been going through the water and across land, it intelligently places these going along the road as much as possible, which is great. It means you drop them like I've done right next to a road. They can then rapidly move along the road. And nicely, this entire group is now moving on its own. I don't need to do anything more here. That group will make its way eventually to the target here. And there are a huge number of applications that you can use this for. You can build up a little group and then send them towards an enemy base. I was planning on doing that, but the current state of the map here means that it's a bit awkward for me to drop. I could, for example, if we had FARP Lima, I could go drop off a whole load of units outside the enemy airbase here, make a nice big group, send them all in to attack the enemy airbase. Equally, if I have an ideal place to, say, put in a SAM site, but it's rather difficult to land on, say on the side of a ridge, I can just path my units up there, land them nice and easily, path them up to exactly where I want them. And the lovely thing about this system is you do not need combined arms at all. What you need to do to be able to do this is just put down that map marker. Now, there are some server restrictions for this. You do need the Tactical Commander role. That is the Discord role that allows people to use the TACCOM seat, and it also lets us use these pathing features. It's just there to avoid people trolling the system and doing stupid things like moving friendly SAM units away. But if you want this role, all you need to do is hop onto the Discord. You can open a ticket there to apply for the role. Now, with the system, same restrictions as always apply. You need to get the permission of whoever dropped off the units in order to move them. No pathing units within a airbase or a FARP. These units that are put down, you can manually take control and adjust their positions. You can't path them, mostly because that really messes with the DCS pathing system. And importantly, as always, we can't put these units either in a forest or right next to buildings. So I couldn't, for example, path them and put them right here. They would be completely hidden. They could fire through these trees and not get shot back. It would really ruin the fun for everyone flying a plane. One little note here is just because of the way that this works, you do need to be in a plane in order to use this. That means you can't do this if you're actually sitting in the JTAC or TACCOM slot. That's kind of fine, because then you can just do it with the TACCOM system. Another thing that is really useful then is that we can put down orders to change state. Units have two states. They can either be in red, which is actively engage any enemies and turn on all of their radars, or you can put them into green state, which makes them disable their radars and not engage enemies. Now again, this is something you used to be able to do in the TACCOM slot. We can now do it here. So if, for example, I didn't want these units to have their radar on while they're making this trip over here so they don't get spotted, I can give them the green state. I'm just going to make sure that they're in the red state right now. I want these things actively engaging anything. So in order to do this, I pop down a little marker. I type /state, then the color I want, so red or green. In this case, I want to set these to red. And then I put in a radius, which I believe is in meters, away from this that I want this command to apply to. It'll apply to all things within this radius. In this case, I'm going to put it to the maximum we can give this command of 1000, just to make sure that I do catch my units. But you see here, they're running right next to this point, so that's fine. And then once again, click off, boom. There we go, set one friendly group. So just one group was captured there, so I've not accidentally done anything. And they're set to red, so they'll happily engage anything. By default, units are normally on the red state. This way it will just make sure that they're happy to engage. Mostly you can use this if you want to mess with your SAM systems. For instance, if you know an enemy seed flight is coming in, you can set them onto the green state. Now, very closely related to all of this is the AWACS pathing system, because we can now path the E2 AWACS. We can't path the E3 AWACS, the default one that we have. This is in a locked position. But we do have the ability, using credits, to call in the E2 site. The problem is a lot of people put the E2 AWACS right back to keep it safe, which, yeah, kind of makes sense on the face of it. But if you have an E2 here and the E3 here, the E3 is seeing more than the E2 ever could. The point of the E2 is to get it close to the front line, get you some better coverage. Now, you could absolutely do that ordinarily. We just go to F10 menu, credit actions, activate AWACS. We can activate the E2 for 25 credits. And then we get prompted, just as we did before with this marker. Well, as I said, most people would put this down, and then in this case it's prompting me to action 1012. So for example, people would put it down there. Now, that takes off from one of your rear airfields and flies to that marker. You can probably see there that where I've put that down isn't great. That AWACS is pretty much on the same bearing, same position as where the E3 reaches. It's not going to see anything else. Let's give it a little bit of a better position. Let's say I actually want it to fly down here, give us some more coverage here, and maybe spot some targets they're trying to hide from our AWACS on this side of these mountains. Well, to do that, once again, we just do this all with the markers. So I'm going to put that just a little bit back from our airbase here. And then all we need to type is /E2 path, one word, and then click off. There we go, Chemist was repositioned E2. Your E2 is now en route to that marker. So this little plane is now going to path over here. You can see there it's already turning to its new coordinates. Perfect. Now you don't need to ask the permission of the person who put down the E2 site in order to use this, but do use this sensibly. You can use this to push up that E2 into a more forgiving position. Yes, you are going to lose the E2 if you have it near the front line, but it is better to have an E2 that is functional for 20 minutes, gives you useful data, than an E2 that sat at the back for 2 hours and does nothing. As with all of the TACCOM abilities, this is all monitored. If you do troll or grief, you will be caught and you will have your permissions removed. But otherwise, this gives people really nice options to move things around without ever needing to leave their aircraft, and importantly, without having to get combined arms. One last thing just to note there is the unit pathing does not persist across server restarts. This is a DCS limitation. The units absolutely will persist across the server restart. You just have to give them another pathing order. So if you are dropping things close to the restart time, or you're giving them a ridiculously long route, then just make sure you do pop back in after the restart to give them their orders to move again. But that is the new pathing mechanics on Contention 2.0. If you have any questions or comments about this, please do put them down below. I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Would like to give a big thank you to my YouTube members and Patreon backers, in particular my Ace tier backers of Netto Zero and Judas. Your generosity really helps keep the channel going, and if you'd like to support the channel for free, please do consider leaving a comment, like, subscribe. All does boost this channel in the algorithm. Otherwise, if you're looking for more contention guides, there will be a playlist popping up just to the side here. And as always, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.